As Women's History Month comes to a close, we're spotlighting 6 incredible producers currently ushering in some of the hottest new tickets on Broadway. We caught up with a few of these powerhouse women on the job, from the red carpet to the corner office.
We are at the opening night on the red carpet of Buena Vista Social Club here on Broadway at the Schoenfeld Theater. People don't realize how much work and time it takes to get to this moment.
Here we are at the Marquee Theatre, halfway through tech for Stranger Things, The First Shadow. It's the biggest thing I've ever produced. It's the most technically complex, creatively most ambitious. It's a new play. It's a new work that is still evolving. We're writing, rewriting every single day.
So I was one of those super theater nerds who grew up in the New York area. My very first Broadway show was Yul Brynner's final performance of The King and I. And I was hooked. I was obsessed with Hal Prince. So by the time I was 7, I was like, this guy knows everything. He's creating the world around us. It's reflecting to us. This is what I want to do.
I didn't know that I could be a Broadway producer. I didn't know anyone who worked on Broadway. I didn't even see my first Broadway show till I was 15. I grew up a suburb of Boston, so I'd see all the touring shows that came through Boston. To me, that was Broadway. And then went to college, and when I could sneak away to New York, I'd come see shows. I really fell in love and suddenly understood the magic of Broadway. I found it at a time in my life when I was looking for something more. I was living in New York City. I was working in television news. I had a background in politics. Never in my life did I think there was even a career opportunity for me in Broadway, never mind to be a Broadway producer. And through friends and conversations and taking a chance, eventually started on a path where I had my own company and we were producing shows every year.
I think there's this general conception that producing is just about the money. Producing is so much more than that. And in fact, there's also this misconception that you have to come from wealth. I didn't come from wealth. I worked in the not-for-profit for over 20 years of my career, and I figured out how to marshal resources to support work and artists that I really believed in. I did it because people believed in my vision, in the artist's vision, in the work that we were doing, and that's what producing is.
My day-to-day job of being a Broadway producer is a little bit unusual. I am also producing MJ on the West End, MJ in Hamburg, MJ in Australia, MJ on Broadway, and MJ on tour. So we have 5 companies running simultaneously. And now with Dead Outlaw, that'll be sort of another layer on top of it.
Dead Outlaw was one of those shows where before I went, at least 3 or 4 people said to me, you have to see it. I knew nothing about it. I'd read no reviews, I'd read no coverage. And I went in, it was beguiling, funny, original, wild. The music is sublime.
I had a number of people say to me, oh my goodness, you have to see Dead Outlaw. Oh, Dead Outlaw is so fantastic. I was trying to see every single show on Broadway, for Tony's season, and I kept saying, I do not have time to go see Dead Outlaw. And they were like, you have to go see Dead Outlaw. So I went to see Dead Outlaw, and I was absolutely enthralled. And then I proceeded over the course of the next, week to go see all of these other musicals. And every morning I was still waking up singing the Dead Outlaw songs. And I kept talking about it. And finally my husband said, oh, just go call them and tell them you want to do it. And so I was like, okay, I should do that.
I'm a producer on purpose, and we just opened 2 nights ago, and it was spectacular. Brandon Jacobs Jenkins is one of our most prolific playwrights that we have in American theater today, and it's an honor to be able to work on a show that brings his incredible words to life. Under the direction of Felicia Rashad, with the incredible cast that we have, just all stars in their own right.
We have this amazing ensemble cast with the Dean on stage every night, but they're coming for whatever reason, and they're leaving completely transformed, as though they actually escaped to the Redwoods, which frankly we all need. We all need an escape. We all need an immersive experience where we're transported to another world, where we just learn that everything actually is okay. We will get through it. We just need to connect and we need to feel, and we need to be real. That's been the message of Redwood, and it's resonated with a lot of people.
So how did Good Night and Good Luck happen? The play had been kicking around for a while, and then he and his partner Grant decided that they wanted to write it and produce it themselves, and they needed producing partners. So I get a call from our friends at CAA one day, and they say, would you meet with George Clooney? So that happens. It's a really important story for George because his father was a journalist, Murrow is one of his heroes, and he originally wrote it. And it's remarkable to watch him stand in a room and be the leader of this company.
This Gypsy revival landed on my radar thanks to my wonderful partner, Tom Curtihe, who I first started working with on Hadestown. That's how we first met. What got me to say yes was the combination of Audra McDonald and George C. Wolfe. I have been trying to work with George for 20 years, and we had danced around each other quite a bit, but when I realized this was going to be my chance to be able to work with someone with his level of craft and his level of vision, I knew that I couldn't say no.
The best pieces of theatre and the theatres that thrive anywhere in the world are as a result of the word of mouth. People saying, you have to see that. Of course reviews matter, of course influence matter, but the thing that ultimately is the number one is you have to see it.
The only thing that tells you about your show is what happens in the audience that night. They will not lie to you. Only a person who has walked in the door and is getting their playbill and just has read a blurb about it is the only person who's going to tell you what the show actually is.
There is nothing I love more than standing in the back of a theater and watching an audience. You can feel the audience, feel the show, and the gasps at certain plot moments, and the leaping to their feet before the show is over because they are so moved by a performance is the most satisfying gift.
It's really important to kind of just keep charging ahead. Sit at the table, walk through the door, know you can do it. Don't listen to the voices either externally or internally that tell you you're not supposed to be doing that, or you're not allowed to be doing that, or that you can't do that.
It's never too late. I started producing in 2019. It's 2025, and I'm a woman of a certain age, and it's as if I've started a new career completely. It's never too late.
As I've grown up in the industry, call it 20 years ago, I would get really irritated when I was called a female producer. And I would say to journalists or people who were interviewing me, I'd say, please don't gender me. I'm a producer, right? Now, I'm so proud. And I think it's because it's taken me until this moment in the last few years to actually fully appreciate the women that came before me, what influence I can have in women behind me. The single thing that has always driven me as a woman is I belong in this room.